How's it going, buddy? Welcome to the show. Ben here, joined by Michael, as I so frequently am. We're going to do something we haven't done before, which is our personal favorite albums. We were debating bands, songs, artists. It's all impossible to come up with lists of all time anything, right? They're all varying degrees of opinion and bullshit. But it's like they are kind of fun conversation starters to have. So I don't know about you, I find it impossible to whittle it down, even at one per artist to only 20.
Oh, I had a list of about 40, and getting it down to 20 was awful. I didn't want to do it. I felt really bad cutting out a lot of stuff I really, really liked.
Yeah.
There are no grunge records in this thing, and I'm shocked and appalled at that statement. But I think what I got is I should take that back. There is one. So, but what I got is what I got for right now. I mean, it's obviously very fluid, so we'll see what happens a little bit down the road in a few years. But yeah, let's see. What do you got?
That's exactly what I was going to say though. Is like this all this is. I'm not even saying they're the best 20 records of all time. It's like
They're
this is
not
my top 20 right now at the
currently
moment. That's
today.
all it is. That's all we can do. That's the best we can do.
I mean, I got so much recent stuff on here, like stuff I've picked up in the last 5 years that might be out the window in the next 5 years.
Yeah. I thought the all-time thing was kind of stupid. It's like all time hasn't happened yet, so how can you say that?
Yeah,
That's always
we're
my.
not dead yet.
All right, I'll get us started here. I took the time to get props for these as well. You knew this was coming. Pink Floyd's Animals.
Are we starting from one or are we starting from 20?
I do you have yours in order?
Yeah, I am on an order.
Oh Jesus Christ. I just
Are we just picking 20?
mine are in no order, dude. I couldn't
Okay,
order them. If yours are in order, do it in order. That's
I'll
cool.
do
I
it in order.
couldn't
I'll
do
start
it.
from 20.
All right, I had a hard enough time to. Mine are in no order. I love all of these. I can't possibly rank these, but yeah, no surprises here. Pink Floyd Animals, my favorite Pink Floyd album of all time. One of my favorite albums of all time. We're setting aside my hatred of the remix and remaster that came out just a couple weeks ago, as of the date of the recording of this video, where they mixed it worse and added sub bass and mixed the vocals too dry, and it was a mess. It was a total waste. But man, that was some of the coldest, awesome, jammy, mind melting experimental rock ever to come out from a band that did that stuff better than most anybody else anyway. That golden era of 70s Floyd was hard to choose from because we did limit this to one per band. Not my 20th favorite, might be my all time favorite, but mine are in no particular order. I just couldn't bring myself to rank them. So
Right. I
obviously
mean,
it had to be on the list. Pink
we
Floyd.
both put Pink Floyd's Animals as our number one Pink Floyd record, and I think we both put. Did you put Dogs as your number one song?
I
I put
did.
it as my number one song as well. Yeah, no, there's no surprise. It will be on my list at some point down the road, so we will circle back to this. But yeah, in my mind, is the best of the all of the Pink Floyd records, no doubt in my mind.
What you got?
My number 20 is Clippings record, the experimental hip hop group featuring David Diggs. Clippings, it's just CLPPNG. That's not a word,
Yeah.
but that's the record. It's a great record. It's got, Story 2, which is part of the Story series, which is one of the best things they do, maybe the best thing they do, in my opinion. It's got Body and Blood. It's got Dominoes. It's got so many of my favorite clipping tracks on here. And in my mind, it is, well, maybe not a great concept album compared to Splendor and Misery, or their existence and addiction to blood or whatever. Um, or some of their later stuff generally, that the more Halloweeny, creepy stuff that I really do dig quite a bit. This is the one I consistently go back to the most. It's my first foray into clipping. Um, Get Up is another one. It's very divisive. I'm the only person I've ever met that likes it because it's got the alarm clock sound, and I think it's a cool idea. Other people think it's annoying, but yeah, no, and explaining Davi Diggs to people as the guy from Hamilton, it clicks in their minds a lot better. So I've always found that very helpful. Yeah, but Clipping is a great band. They're really cool, and I wish they would come out with more stuff. I mean, even more often than they do. They're at a one album a year rate right now.
That's the one with the is it the black and white fence cover?
Yeah.
That's awesome album art too. I thought that was really cool album art. It's rare that you get a that effective a simple
Oh, I
image.
know.
It's like that's really good album art though.
I just wish I could say their name in the record.
It's in all caps too, so I guess you got to shout it, right?
I know, with a period.
All right, they had to be on the list as well. You're well aware of my Dream Theater love. This one was actually pretty tough to track down. It was in that era in the early '90s where nothing was getting issued on LP anymore. So this was a pretty tough find. But it could have easily been a couple of their records, but as it is, I had to go with the one that initially drew me into the band, and that's Images and Words from '92. It's earlier than you think, man. They
Right.
really got an early start. Like they're something what was it, like 1990 or 1989 was their debut, when Day and Dream Unite, I think it was called. It was the only one with Dominici on vocals. James Labree's voice on this one and all subsequent projects is incredible. Just slightly metal-y progressive rock. People call them prog metal, and I'm like,
Yeah.
I mean, at various times they get heavy, but I would say more progressive than metal if you had to pick one direction for Dream Theater. And they do it so well. Layered instrumentation in these rhythmically complex, tonally complex, spiraling songs, and then surprising moments of extreme, simple beauty, also mixed with extreme heaviness in various points. Nobody's like Dream Theater. They're one of the best bands that's keeping the flame of progressive music alive. They're not just rehashing all the '70s stuff that we all know and love. They're kind of blazing their own trail. There is obviously a couple dips in their catalog for me, namely The Astonishing. There's a few other ones that I don't really like that meander along for like 100+ minutes. They really need to have some discipline. I know they write longer songs, so the albums are going to be longer, but occasionally I'm like, boy, this is too long. Like it's like an hour and a half of some of this stuff. But man, I do love Dream Theater from 1992. That album sounds great as well. Like it definitely sounds like a more modern album than '92.
Feel that. I like Dream Theater. I don't dabble in them a ton. I like Metropolis too. That's probably the most frequently I go towards Dream Theater.
That's my other
Um,
favorite. Yeah.
but the rest of it, I have yet to dabble a ton into. But I do understand what you're saying as far as that prog metal leaning heavily towards prog sound. It's definitely a great way to describe them. They're definitely prog metal.
I'd
is the way I
suggest we
put
do
it.
them worst to best, but I don't want to spend 6 weeks listening to.
That's yeah.
It's
We've taken
they're all
long
long
enough on
records.
System of a Down, which is 6 very quick records. All right, my number 19 is Saturation 2 by Brockhampton. Brockhampton, a band that is ending their careers, it sounds like relatively soon. Um, when these guys were coming out with the Saturation trilogy, I believe in 2017, they seemed like they were unstoppable. They lost one of their lead rappers to some allegations that were less than stellar. So I think the band dipped in quality after that happened, after they kicked him out, because he was only there for the Saturation trilogy. Saturation 2, to critics and people that listen to them, feels like the redheaded stepchild. I personally think it's my favorite. It's got the best singles. Like every time they would come up with a single every single week, I'd be like, this is the new best one. I mean, it's just a great, great record. I love listening to it. I don't listen to them, or Brockhampton as much as I did when I was like 22, but I still really dig this record and I listen to it a ton, in the tail end years of college, definitely. And it definitely, listening to Sweet every day to Spanish class is definitely, I think of Spanish class now every time I listen to that song, because I would just jam out and walk and dance my way there.
Hopefully not.
Oh, I did. I dance walk all the time. You stop it. I dance walk constantly.
A lot of more modern stuff on your list, man. I feel like an old man. All my
Oh,
stuff.
I was surprised. I mean, there's more like older stuff peppered in here, but there's a lot of stuff that's come out very recently that's on here that I'm like, I've listened to this stuff more than I've listened to older stuff. I should probably put it on there. I mean, that's why, for example, Nevermind's not on here. There's no Interpol on here. It's because it's just stuff I've listened to a ton, and I had to have a few casualties, unfortunately.
No, never mind. It's surprising.
They were 22, 23. They were close, but it was damn close, but they just couldn't get on there. Shit, there's no Rage or Audio Slave on here. I can't believe that at all.
Yeah, I thought about them too, honestly. They could have been a couple of their projects as well. So this one surprised me a little bit, but I couldn't talk myself out of it. Dire Straits debut.
Great
Um,
record.
Man, I love this record, and this band. They never put out a bad one. Mark Knopfler and company. It's nothing revolutionary, but it's just so good. It's rootsy, folksy blues rock. a la 1978, I think it was. Man, so many great songs. Obviously, you have the timelessly cool Sultans of Swing, but everything else on that record is fantastic as well. And it all sounds like, oh yeah, I know that one. Oh yeah, I know that one. It's like this.
Yeah.
All their best songs were off their debut, man. Surprisingly pretty, especially at the end. They actually cover more stylistic ground than you would think, given the guitar, bass, and drums relatively simple organization that you have. Knopfler's lyricism is incredible. His playing, as bluesy and distinctive as it is also unique. That's a ton of blues players out there, and they have these tendency to play a similar kind of lick. I'm guilty of that as well. I play blues guitar, and it's like I end up, oh, that sounds just like this and sounds like that. Nobody
Right.
sounds like him. He's got this unique phrasing, and he plays with his fingers too. He doesn't play with a pick, and just unique stuff that he does. And I love also that this would have been or could have been. I don't think it is, but it could have been so uncool in 1978. I mean, you had
Right.
punk and disco and like all this other stuff, and these guys are just like, how about some like folksy blues rock? And it's like that could have been so uncool, but they did it with such confidence and class and intelligence and good songwriting that it just nobody can deny how cool Dire Straits, especially earlier in their career, was. So I
Oh,
couldn't
they're
put
super
myself out of it.
cool.
I had to put it in the top 20, man.
I mean, I always say it, Sultans of Swing is one of those songs I can never get enough of. I listen to that song constantly and I'm never ever sick of it. It is one of the few in the world like that.
Yeah,
That song is so amazing.
it's
And
unique. Yeah,
the rest of that
sounds
record's
different.
great too. I mean,
Yeah.
Sultans of Swing is the obvious standout, but that's a quality ass record. My number 18 is my only grunge record on here. Soundgarden's Super Unknown from 1994. Uh, it's the most underrated grunge record, main grunge record, in my opinion. I mean, it's got, obviously Fell on Black Days and Black Hole Sun. It's got some big ones, but it's also got 4th of July, which is a really, really ridiculous song. I think it's about him tripping. I also like to think if it's about like war or something, it sounds cool like that. It's got the limousine wreck. I mean, it's or limo wreck. It's I really, really, this is the most consistent one. My Wave is so groovy. There's so many things on this record that I really, really dig. Head Down's got an amazing drum solo at the end. This is the one outside of Nevermind I've come back to by far the most. Like Alice in Chains and Dirt are great. Pearl Jam and 10 and Vitology and Verses are great. But this is the one I've always connected with the most, except for maybe Nevermind, which is not on here because this one I feel like has fewer flaws than Nevermind. I feel like Nevermind Smells Like Teen Spirit's a high you're not going to get really on any other record. I admit that. But this one is much more consistent. There's not a song on here I skip. Nevermind, there's 2 or 3 songs I skip every time.
Mm. By extension, then, would that be the number one of your grunge bands? Then, you think Soundgarden over Nirvana?
I don't know. It changes daily. I have no idea. It is that's such a hard pick of the 4 of the main 4. It's Pearl Jam's probably 4, and then the other 3 it's kind of up to debate. I don't know. It depends.
Mm. No, the other thing is Nirvana has such a short catalog compared to Soundgarden, and especially like Alice in Chains and
I think
Pearl Jam, especially. They kept going forever.
Alice in Chains I think has 5 or 6, maybe
Yeah.
6. Soundgarden I think has 5 or 6. Nirvana's got 3 main ones, and then I think Pearl Jam's up to 9 or 10.
Yeah, and
So
they
yeah,
Pearl
Pearl
Jam
Jam.
became like a bar band sounding.
Yeah, they're fine. They're old and I think they're out of things to say. It's okay. It happens to a lot of bands, and I still love Pearl Jam, but this is
Yeah.
what happens when you make a ton of records.
We'll stick in the 90s. This one was an easy choice as well. From 97, Third Eye Blind's debut record,
Yeah.
self-titled. Man, I can't. This album is just awesome. I mean, it's a double LP that feels like it's gone by in a flash because every single song is catchy, perfectly produced, well written, well performed. It's not that these guys are the most technical players in the world, but they're writing just some great, gritty, not grungy necessarily. It's more pop on the pop side of alternative rock, I would say, but there's definitely some heavy moments. And the songwriting is great. The lyrics are great. I mean, every single song, like Narcolepsy and Jumper. I think the first video we ever did, I called this an underrated
I'm pretty sure you
album. And
did.
God, it is like every single song. Motorcycle Drive By, God of Wine. It's like all these songs are just amazing. They're beautifully written and arranged perfectly. So there's peaks and valleys, and you feel like you've experienced an entire side of a great group. Sadly, they were so short, flash in the pan. These guys, Blue was okay. I have that somewhere. I didn't grab it, but and then after that, it was like, I mean, did they ever really do anything else? They only had maybe one, maybe two more. There was some issues with infighting, and they never got back to the creative peak of the debut. But I couldn't. That was always going to be near the top 20, man. I think that is damn close to a perfect album, if not a perfect album, which is doubly impressive because it's a double LP. It's pretty long. It's like 70,
Right.
70 something minutes. To write that much music and really not have a miss. It's incredible.
My number 17 is You're Gonna Miss It All by Modern Baseball. It was a band I was super into, especially in like 2020. The angst and the bummed outness really it matched the year, I would say.
Yeah,
In my opinion, is my favorite of the emo revival scene out of the Northeast. In the early 2010s. It's not for everybody, and it's a super quick record. It's less than 30 minutes long, but it's got Rock Bottom, it's got Your Graduation, Notes, Apartment. It's got all these great tracks. I think it's the definitive. They only put out 3 records. It's the definitive record for them, though. They got a weird cult following. And there's a shocking amount of people that like for no reason, like you would never. They're just like, oh, I love this band, and I'm like, okay. So I went and dove into them and stumbled into them, and I've noticed every emo band has like a sports based name. So like Soccer Mommy or American Football. So I'm telling you this for years. When we make our emo band, we're gonna be Retro Hockey.
retro hockey.
Retro Hockey. But yeah, no, this is like I mean, I dug the emo scene and obviously the Midwest emo scene from the 2000s. I just think it's super cool. I missed it just a little bit in college. It was just a little bit before my time. But yeah, no, this record was a pretty big part of like the worst year ever for me. I listened to it so much. But yeah, I had to have it on here.
What year did that come out?
2014.
Oh, okay. Wow. Okay. Much more recent than I thought.
Oh yeah, no, they were playing like house parties while we were like freshmen, and they were doing it in like Philly though. So I
Wow,
missed it by that much.
that would have been great to see, man.
It
Yeah.
would have been.
All right. Maybe this will be a bit of a surprise to you, but I couldn't talk myself out of it. Kanye West Graduation. Dude, I love this album. It is so fun. I'm not even saying necessarily it's the best Kanye project. I think
Right.
it is, but I'm not even necessarily saying it is. But I'm just saying it's the one I enjoy the most. Pretty safe pick, kind of the pedestrian's choice of a popular hip hop album. I'm aware of all this. I don't claim to be an expert on that genre, but every single song except one is amazing, and you know which one probably I'm talking about. "Drunken Hot Girls" is a
That's the
fucking
worst song ever. It sounds
it,
like a shitty sea shanty.
why? It is a fucking huge turd in the middle of an otherwise awesome, funny. Like he had a good balance of sense of humor and self awareness, not to think that he was Jesus Christ on this album. Back then, he still had at least an ounce of humility to make songs that were self aware and funny and lyrically interesting.
That's out the window.
Yeah. Oh, it's gone now. it's
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 been
gone
gone.
now, totally. You seen him lately with the beard and everything, saying crazy shit about.
He's insane.
He's a
That
crazy.
guy is. It's left turn after left turn. It's insane.
Him and
The
AB need to
whiplash.
hang out. They'd be great for each other. Good influence on each other. I mean, everybody knows the hits off of this one. Stronger, Barry Bonds. There's just and there was in this album. This was what 2006 or seven or so. It was a bit adventurous for a mainstream hip hop artist, which he still kind of was up to that point. He hadn't had his reputation of like a wild experimental left field kind of
Right.
guy yet, right? His first couple records, good as they were more traditional hip hop than he would go on to do much later. We all agree. And he worked with like a couple pop guys, and Chris Martin maybe was on this thing. Is that who it was, or was it somebody else? I can't
I
remember.
think
But
it was Chris Martin. I feel like for some
on
reason
Blinding
it was Chris
Lights,
Martin.
I think
I
it was.
think that's right.
Yeah, I haven't heard it in a bit. I'll be honest, but some pop influence and crossover there that was pretty a bold direction to take and forward thinking in the regard that everybody does that shit now. It's a dime a dozen now, but at the time that was a maybe even a little brave choice for a hip hop guy to do in the pursuit of some great music, which I think he did achieve here. And it's my vote for his best album. You disagree? Most people would probably disagree, but I think it's his best record, and I love it.
Yeah, my disagreement will be on here and addressed at some point, I'm sure. My number 16 is Benji by Sun Kill Moon, which is like, I mean, he's kind of fallen on some odd times with some allegations in the last couple of years, unfortunately. But Benji,
Who
Sun
hasn't?
Kill Moon, yeah, Sun Kill Moon is he's. You ever listen to Sun Kill Moon?
Only this one because you
He's
recommended it.
it's strange. It's rambling. It's stream of consciousness. It's odd, but it's like in this one it works so well. It's got songs about two people he knows dying of aerosol can explosions, which is if that's a 1 in a million shot, what is that then? A 1 in 100 million shot then?
Yeah,
That's insanity. But
that
he's
is
got
crazy.
that. He's got Michael Lean, which is about people he knew, sad people he knew, and like another guy, Jim Wise, is in a ridiculous song about, and this is a real story, a guy whose wife is terminally ill, so he shot her in her hospital bed, and then he tried to shoot himself and couldn't, and went to jail. And they were taught he's like him on house arrest.
Uplifting
Rich,
story.
it's it's a ridiculous song. I mean, this album's sad. It's really really sad. There's Richard Ramirez died today of natural causes is just a song about aging as well as Richard Ramirez dying of natural causes. And it's just like I'm getting so old. How did it get like this? Like this is a very, very good record. It's like Sun Kill Moon is hard to digest generally because it's a lot and all the records and songs are long as shit. But this one is by far the easiest to get into Sun Kill Moon with. And
Hmm.
I see on this Wikipedia that he plays Portuguese guitar. I don't know what that means, but at some point he plays Portuguese guitar. So if you need a reason to listen, another reason to listen, there you go.
Is that somehow distinct from Spanish guitar, from flamenco?
I have no idea. It
Neither
just
do
says
I.
Portuguese guitar on there. I'll have to
Portuguese
click
guitar,
on it
not
later.
Spanish guitar. Portuguese guitar.
Portuguese. Portuguesa.
I'd be curious to see. All right, another not a surprise, really. Godspeed You Black Emperor. Lift your skinny
Of
fist
course.
like antennas to heaven.
Would that be number one or number two? Like that's
If I
gotta
had
be.
it,
If you were ranking them, I mean, you
uh,
love that record.
I do love this album. I own it on. I have two vinyl. This is the better of the two, and then I have the CD as well. And this one, the vinyl releases are cool because you can see the map of the album. Not many albums come with a map rather than a track list, but this one does, and it earns that distinction. Some of the craziest people call it post rock. I don't really find that a very useful designation. Like, what does that even mean, really? But
I don't know, like
for lack of a better,
Swans.
yeah, for lack of a better term, post rock, right? It's long form, sound effect laden, melodic, multi sweet experimental rock. Bit of a mouthful. Maybe we'll just stick with post rock.
Yeah.
Can't go track by track here. There's like, it's just one big, massive piece. And it is so engaging and thought provoking in a way that it really has no right to be, given that sometimes these are actually quite sparse, not simple, but not overly complex compositions involving some traditional instrumentation more than anything else. And yet it somehow feels narrative. I'm not even sure I could quite articulate what the narrative would be or why it feels that way, but having heard this record, and anybody that hears this record and loves it has that same sort of like it's like a almost a philosophical narrative examination of something, life, consumerism. I mean, it feels political, but it's buried beneath so many layers of art that you almost can't. You're like picking it apart, trying to figure out exactly what the intent is. But man, it's so great. I mean, I love that band. They have some other gems as well, but I think that one stands head and shoulders above the other stuff that they've done, as good as it is. And boy, I would compete for number one. I think with Pink Floyd's Animals. I really see. This is why I couldn't order them because how can I choose? It's like choosing between my children. I don't know. But man,
I mean, picking them to be even on this list in general is like picking between my children. It was so difficult, and I felt so guilty leaving a lot of them off. I was
yeah.
not thrilled. Number 15, a late edition, probably the last edition of this thing, is Amy Winehouse's Back to Black. This record is insane. This record's one of the best there is. I love this record. There's not anybody like her. I mean, you see Lana Del Rey is kind of like her. Lady Gaga, when she sings with Tony Bennett, is kind of like Amy Winehouse. But there's nothing like this. It's jazz and pop at the same time. It's the right voice. It's the right tone. It sounds so good. It's a modern problem with an old school sound. things like Rehab and Tears Dry on Their Own. I mean, Amy Winehouse is great. We were proud of Amy Winehouse. She was brilliant. She looked the end of her life was such a tragedy. I've seen a few documentaries, especially the one called Amy on her. They're really good and they're heartbreaking to watch. I mean, there really is not a bad song in this record. Me and Mr. Jones, I'm no good, just friends. I mean, Back to Black, the titular track. I mean, it's clean. It's very quick. It's only 35 minutes. I mean, it's such a great record, and I wish we would have gotten more than just two for maybe Winehouse because it's again, there's nothing like it.
Another member of that 27 club, right?
The last one, the most recent main one. I mean, it's been what 10 years? It's
Yeah.
12 years. It's been a long time.
Yeah, that's a good one, man. I had honestly I didn't even think about that one, but like that is a great record. I haven't heard that in a long time, but that I do
Oh, I
remember.
mean, I was thumbing through and I'm like, how did I miss that one? Oh
Yeah.
shit, that's go in there somewhere. So I reshuffled.
Gone too soon.
Yeah.
All right, another. This is possibly the most boring, safe choice of any rock fan of the last ever. It's Boston debut Boston album. Couldn't talk myself out of it. There it is on CD as well. Man, it's just awesome.
That record had a baby.
Yeah, you can see the like how album art used to be so much more important, right?
Yeah.
And then I have a cassette I'll show later, and it's even more pathetic. Nobody needs I mean, what can I say about this album that hadn't been said? I will say it is possibly the most egregious omission from Rolling Stone's latest edition of their top 500 albums of all time list, in which this does not appear.
And Read by Taylor Swift was like number 89. So
I mean,
I
what
don't
the hell?
what the fuck? What the
Like
hell is
that list is a mess. Like it's like of every group of 10, it's like 5 that I have no issue with whatsoever, 2 that I understand why, and then 3 it's like what is this doing on here? Like Kanye gets 4 on the thing, but Boston doesn't get 1. What is that thing, like double diamond at this point? Like who hasn't heard More Than a Feeling? Who hasn't heard all these awesome songs on here? Tom Schultz, Brad Delp's voice is incredible. The other guys don't get a lot of love, but like there's the drummer, I can't remember his name at the moment, but he's incredible as well. And so utterly awesome sounding sonically for a 1976 album. I mean, that thing sounds better than most modern rock coming out now, despite the massive increase in technology due to the obsessive nature of Tom Schultz's production ear, which actually would hurt him later. And that's why he's been so unproductive over the years. It's like he will not compromise on the smallest of details. And I really think it worked here. It worked once again. Maybe Third Stage. I don't know. I mean, Amanda's okay. And then after that, it's like nothing. They put out a couple more. But yeah, it's just it's an amazing album. I couldn't not put it on here despite it being incredibly safe choice.
I mean, we both actually dodged the most basic pick for any rock listener fan, because that would be Dark Side of the Moon. That's the basic pick. All right. My number 14 is Sufjan Stevens, Carrie and Lowell. It is from 2015. It's about the death of his mom and stepfather, Carrie and Lowell. Sufjan's got some good stuff generally. It's, Michigan and Seven Swans, and especially Illinois is probably his biggest, most well-known record, which I love. But Carrie and Lowell it's easier to listen to. I mean, the subject matter is not. It's a really sad album. It's a horrendously sad album, but it's easier to listen to generally than the 20 tracks of Illinois Constantly. This is about 50 minutes or so. It's a real quick listen. You have songs like, Death with Dignity and Should Have Known Better, and what I always forget, White Blue Bucket of Gold, but it's not that. It's something completely different. I keep forgetting what that one's called. It's Blue Bucket of Gold. That song slaps. I mean, that slaps, but you know what I mean. It's a great song. 4th of July, great song. It's only great songs on this record, even if it is horrendously sad. I'm noticing a trend in what I listen to. It's a lot of sad stuff. What does that say about me? I don't know. But yeah, it's one of the best records of the 2010s, in my opinion. I love this record.
No argument here, man. Speaking of horrendously sad, this one's a weird one. Not many people would have this high on the list. This is Liturgy, HAQQ.
Oh, I know it was coming.
Yeah, dude, it's like I just can't. I don't even know why I like it so much. Now the black metal purists will tell you that that's like the entry level basic choice, you know. And but I'm like, dude, like I like the other stuff too. Like I've been listening to Dark Throne lately. Imperial Triumphant's pretty cool. Like there's some other good stuff in there, but like these guys take it in like an orchestral and grand direction that I think probably appeals to my progressive rock sensibilities a bit more. It's like ethereal black metal. It's crazy. I've never heard anything like it. Now there are a lot of guys now trying to achieve this sound because of how interesting and unique this record was. But these guys came by it totally honestly. Actually, I think it's just a guy mainly. I forget his name at the moment, but he's the huge creative force behind this project. And I was like, it's an honorable mention tier in my mind. But then I was like, I mean, what's one I like more? I love hundreds of albums, but it's like, what's one I like more than this one? I was having trouble coming up with another one on this list that I like more than this one, at least right now. I've been listening to these guys a lot lately. They have another one out that's pretty cool as well, but I don't think it's quite as good. Odd choice. You don't see that kind of. You go from what was it? I had a Kanye, and then some black metal, and then I had like Boston, and it's like, what the fuck? I don't know.
A lot of bouncing around here.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I don't have anything like instrumentally very heavy on mine. It's pretty mundane sounding stuff instrumentally. I don't have any metal on there. I don't feel like.
You're a lot more modern than me, though. We're realizing.
Yeah, but we'll go back in time a little bit here. Not currently because we're going with my Kanye selection,
Oh, okay.
my opinion on the greatest Kanye record, and that is My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy, which is is my opinion the second or first greatest record of the 2010s without a doubt. I mean, you have, Runaway is ridiculous, and it's just I don't even know what it's about. It's just he can't find chicks, and it just sounds cool. I mean, Devil in a New Dress, the Rick Ross part is great. Making love to the angel of death. Never, what is it? I don't know. Making love to the angel of death. I always forget that line, and then I have to read it, and then I have to rewind the track and then sing that part after I relearn the lyric every single time I listen to that song. Monster, obviously, except for Jay-Z's part, because Jay-Z's part is terrible. I'm sorry, Jay-Z, but it's awful. You have, Dark Fantasy. The ending tracks are kind of weird. Hell of a Life is kind of weird. Blame Game's not that great. But, the first, I'd say 75% of this record is pretty bulletproof. It's pretty insane. And I don't think he's ever reached this height again. I think this is my opinion. I said this when we made our Kanye list. This is his last great record, in my opinion.
Oh, you don't think Jesus is King was better?
No, I don't think Jesus is King is better. I don't think anybody thinks Jesus is King is better. If
Dude,
you think Jesus is King is better, you're Kanye West.
He's open
And if
on
you're not
Sunday,
Kanye West,
like
you're
Chick-fil-A.
insane. Ugh. Awful song. I listened to that song one time for that video, or that record one time for that video, and I never will do it again.
That was a trash album. What a disappointment.
It's sad.
He bounced back with Donda a little bit, though. There was some cool stuff on there.
Donna was cool. It was just 2.5 hours, and that was like, it was exhausting.
It was funny because we were going to start that format of us listening to stuff and giving our opinion right off the bat, and I think that broke us because it took like
2.5 hours. Another Casey Musgraves, and it was awful, and we were like, "Yep, we can't do it."
Yeah, I didn't. That's not even on the channel. I didn't end up releasing that because it was just like trash.
The worst record.
Yeah. Another safe pick, Rush, one of my all-time favorite bands. Moving Pictures, love the album cover as well. It's Moving Pictures, the album, Moving Pictures, and they're moving pictures. Neil Peart probably thought of that, but anyway, just a perfect album. I mean, the more I listen to it, the more I like it. It's not you'd think with how much I hear Tom Sawyer, I'd get tired of hearing it, but I never do, especially in the context of this awesome album. YYZ, seminal instrumental track, is on there as well. This album, I think, is actually dangerous to my health because whenever I put this on the car when I'm driving, I tend to go about 30 miles an hour faster just because of how fucking good this album is and how rockin' Neil Peart's drumming is.
Well, what does Chester Cheeto say or Chester Cheetah say on Family Guy?
He's there's no better drummer than Neil Peart. Or Pert, whatever. Anyway, Alex Lifeson, underrated as hell guitarist. Geddy Lee, amazing bassist. One of the better progressive rock era bassists. It's just, there's nothing wrong with it. I listen to it all the time. If I was trying to put these in order like you, that'd be damn near the top two. Like three, maybe four. I mean, it'd be hard to choose, but man, I love Rush. It was hard choosing one from Rush, honestly, because I love like six of theirs, and I have they're back there somewhere on the on the rack.
Yeah, I mean, I feel that because there's tons of stuff. I mean, the one artist per record thing probably did us both a huge favor because it would be, all Radiohead and System of a Down and my next artist up, Songs for the Deaf, Queens of the Stone Age. I can't believe I forgot the words Queens of the Stone Age. That's ridiculous. Who I love, and Songs for the Deaf is not it. I picked Like Clockwork, and look, Songs for the Deaf is probably the best Queens of the Stone Age record. I do not deny that. However, my favorite is Like Clockwork. I just think it's the cleanest record. I Appear
Really?
Missing. Yeah, like look, driving into the city to I Appear Missing. There's nothing like that. It's just such a like drive into the lights of the city at night song, even though it's about being in a coma. Still, Collapsia, still a great song. My top listened to song of last year.
Hmm.
If I Had a Tail, I Sat by the Ocean. I mean, it's such a weird deviation from I feel like the rest of the desert rock they generally do. And I really dig this record. I love Josh Homme. I wish the last record was better, but I have faith that, if they could do this mid career and come out with my favorite record, then they can do it again.
The one guy died, didn't he? You were telling me
Mark Lanigan, yeah, he was
yeah.
the guy, the Screaming Trees guy, the one that did all the shout vocals for Songs of the Deaf, unlike
Yeah.
Millionaire and Six Shooter. Yeah,
That's a loss, man. That's a
that is
great
a loss.
album. That's the best part of that album is that dude's vocals, man.
Oh,
No
I agree.
respect to Hami, but
I love Hami, but yeah, no,
yeah,
the best part is the screaming parts.
yeah, that's
I
awesome.
don't deny that. But yeah, no, I mean, Queens of the Stone Age was going to make an appearance. It was just a matter of, is it going to be rated R? Is it going to be Songs for the Deaf? Is it going to be Like Clockwork? And Like Clockwork ended up winning out.
I'll tell you what. I would probably go back and amend my list and put that at the top because I actually put their debut at the top, unusually, and I do still like that record. But man, the more time I spend with that,
Yeah.
it's better than the debut. All right, another safe pick. I don't know if this will appear on your list later on. Maybe something else will. Bob Dylan, Blood on the Tracks. This is, I mean, dude, how do you even pick one from the Bob Dylan catalog? Dude's got like 500 records and a legend, one of the best songwriters, if not the best songwriter of all time. Not much to say about him that hasn't been said. I mean, there's been 20, 30 books written just about his songwriting ability. It's like this is guy his artistic genius is well documented. Bad singing voice. I'm the biggest Bob Dylan fan in the world, but he sings like shit. It's just that the songs are so
That's
incredibly
fair.
good. Yeah,
Fair.
he wouldn't be winning American Idol. We'll put it that way. And again, I had to pick one, and it could have been Blonde on Blonde. It could have been Highway 61. It could have been three or four others, really. But I just had to go Blood on the Tracks. Somebody was telling me the other day that that's like the safe pick. I'm like, well, I don't know. Call me safe, I guess. Picking
Yeah, I
the
disagree.
yeah, I don't know. I think Blonde
If
on
you're
Blonde.
safe, you're picking Blonde on Blonde or Highway 61. I completely believe that.
Yeah,
This is the connoisseur's safe pick.
yeah. It's. I think it's his. I think the reason I like it so much is it's not overly long. It's not. It's like his most cohesive single album, like in
Yeah.
my opinion, from as listening to it as a record. In addition to how great all his songs are on various points on other records, this one I think is the most complete album as an album. And there had to be some Bob Dylan on this list because he's incredible. And I can't even see. I'm amazed that you were able to rank these.
Yeah, no, it was tough. I had to do it
Yeah.
a few times. And I was
I have no
really
idea.
bored at work yesterday. For the first time ever, nobody got shot. It was ridiculous.
Great. Well, good.
All right. So my number 11 is I think this is the most recent record I have on here is Purple Mountains self-titled record, the only Purple Mountains record made by, of course, the lead singer of Silver Jews, David Berman, who unfortunately died almost immediately after putting this thing out. I mean, and it makes, honestly, it makes this record so much heavier. It makes it feel like a 45-minute Suicide Note, but there's so many amazing tracks on here. I mean, All My Happiness Is Gone is just so it's kind of poppy. It's kind of like happy and while saying sad shit.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm the only one. For me, I always say it. If no one's fond of fucking me, maybe no one's fucking fond of me is one of the best lyrics there is. Um, Margaritas at the Mall is
I love
is
that one.
I love that one too.
What
And
this shit adds up to after all.
exactly. Exactly. I mean, when he hits the chorus, I'm like, this is an example of him going hard, and it's not that hard, but I quite like it.
Yeah.
And then Nights That Won't Happen is just, about nights that are, you're never gonna be with the person you want to be with, or you everything you plan for won't work out sometimes. Those nights will never happen. I mean, it's such a heavy, heavy, heavy listen. It makes Carrie and Lowell sound like, the 1962 Beatles. Okay. Like seriously, it makes Benji sound the same way. This
Yeah.
is this one of the heaviest records there is, but I listen to it all the time. I mean, I'm not depressed. I just like it. It just sounds good. But I mean, it's so well made.
Yeah.
And I'm really sad we're never gonna get a follow up. This is
Yeah.
it.
He was just set to start touring this, and then
Yeah. And he did it.
yeah, yeah, it's fucking sad. All right, heavy in a different way. Man, I love Sleep, The Sciences. This is their comeback record, and I don't know if you see this. I love this inside gatefold of a big breakfast.
I like that.
It's
I can get
great.
behind that.
So these guys, they were already sort of like, I don't know about legendary, but definitely like cult, uh, shoegazy, stoner rock kind of figures. And this was actually their comeback record in 2018. They knocked it out of the park. That's the best thing they ever did. It is as dense and crushing and heavy without being like metallic. Like it's not really like metal, but it's like extremely gritty, dense stoner rock, with some blistering guitar solos. Like this sounds like the loudest amp I've ever heard. Like however they recorded this cab that they mic'd up to record this is just like cranked. Like somebody just ripped the knob off that thing, like as loud as it could possibly be. The bass too, the drums are pounding. I mean, the songwriting lyrically is a bit shit, but it's like who cares about that? Like it's just about the atmosphere of how crushingly heavy and immense and mile wide these guitar riffs sound and the bass sounds. And like it's just a three piece, I believe. It's just guitar, bass, and drums. Because when the guitar starts going, there's no rhythm part. It's just the bass fills that void with its just crunchy tone. It's immense. That's how I would describe massive this album, and I fucking love it, dude. I listen to it all the time. It's awesome. That's another one you can't drive to because God, you're gonna be like, oh shit, I'm doing 115.
Yeah, exactly. I feel that. My what am I on 10? My number 10. We're in the top 10 now. My number
Oh.
10 is Led Zeppelin 4, the fourth of the Led Zeppelin quadrilogy. I quite like this record. I think it's the best Led Zeppelin
Keep
record.
naming ones I happen to have back here.
I'm glad. Good. It shows some ambiance. You were like, I'm picking up my records. I'm like, oh, well, I have all of them on CD. I should have done that, but I forgot. Or I didn't have time. But no, Led Zeppelin 4 is, I mean, it's a legendary rock record. It's untitled. They're like, we don't want to, we'll see how well it sells without us being on there. And then
Pretty
people are like,
well.
oh, that's Led Zeppelin. I mean, it's got Stairway to Heaven. It's got Black Dog. It's got Rock and Roll. It's got my favorite Led Zeppelin song, which isn't a Led Zeppelin song. It's a remake, but I don't care. When the Levee Breaks. That is the
Good.
hardest fucking rock song ever. I mean, that is a going into battle song. Okay. You're just freaking out listening to it. Unfortunately, my CD it skips during that song.
No.
So I have every time I listen to when he starts going down, I go going down. Yes, I've listened to it so much. This is how I assume the song is at this point. But Led Zeppelin 4 is Led Zeppelin had to make an appearance on this list for me. They were going to make one. It was a matter of what number was going to make it on here, or
Yeah,
how's the
that
whole
damn near made my list too. I was that was actually the one where I was like, damn, do I want to take liturgy off and put a more like traditional pick? But man, that is a fantastic
I
album.
felt a bit bullied into putting more traditional shit in here, and I'm like, you know what? Fine. I love Led Zeppelin. Led Zeppelin 4 is a great record. We'll throw that in there. So there it is.
Well, here's as traditional gets. Man, I've been listening to a lot of Art Blakey and the Jazz Messengers lately. Incredible drummer, man. He's up there with with Buddy as like my favorite jazz drummer. This is absolutely traditional late 50s, early 60s jazz, but it is executed as well as anything. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that could have made my list. Miles Davis, John Coltrane. I actually like Stan Getz quite a bit from a slightly later generation. But Art Blakey and the Jazz Messengers, I don't know how many albums, like, it's actually kind of hard to listen to a jazz catalog in the way I normally would because a lot of them are doing one, two, three offs with like pairing up with somebody else and then like a
Right.
different group. And I don't know quite what in the context of Art Blakey's entire catalog is, but Monin in particular is awesome. The drumming is incredible. The production sounds great. 1958, this was recorded. It sounds crystal clear, whole, beautiful. And the drums don't sound as cardboardy as most other like 50s and 60s drums
Right.
do. And I think a lot of that's down to just how damn good he was. And I had to put some jazz on here because I do love jazz. But it's more like I think jazz is less conducive, at least in its traditional iterations, to like the album format. Like it's more performative and technical and less nobody's really doing like narrative progressive type stuff, you know. So
Right.
it's just like really really good players playing. I mean that's what jazz is really. So single jazz albums, I don't know. I have great players who play great songs, and I like hearing them play. But as an album, it's rare that one hits me like Monin does, and one later on my list from a much more modern jazz group. So it's a little light on jazz, the top of my list. But man, that makes it. I've been spinning that like 50 times in the last couple of weeks. It's great.
I am unfortunately devoid of jazz in this list. I mean, look, I thought heavily about putting Kind of Blue, Sketches of Spain, Chet Baker Sings, Love Supreme. I thought
Bitches
about putting
Brew.
all Bitches Brew. I thought about putting
Yeah,
all of those on there. I just could not find an avenue to do it.
yeah,
I wanted to, if it was 25, it would have been on there. I think Kind of Blue would have probably been the one. It would have probably been on there. And because I love that record. I love Miles Davis. He's
yeah.
insane. He is the definition of an insane work to death artist. He's great. I mean, so we're going away from jazz and away from heavy stuff to a different kind of heavy stuff. We're going back to the sad heavy stuff. We're going to Elliott Smith,
Okay.
the king of the sad heavy stuff. We're going with XO, which is, I mean, it's probably his most well-known record. It's got Waltz 2 on it. It's got Baby Britain, Amity. You know, a lot of Elliott Smith is great. It doesn't have to be cohesive. It's all kind of in the same I hate my life vein, and I kind of respect that. Um, I think Waltz 2 is probably one of his more well-known songs, that and Miss Misery, which is not on any record. But it's generally, you know, I think it's the cleanest front to back. Picking an Elliott Smith record is tough because I love all of them. They're all great. Um, and I felt like this made the most sense as the one I go back to the most. So Elliott Smith gets a shout out at number 9.
This is the first one, in all honesty, on this list I have not heard.
Yeah, no, Elliott Smith's
Mm,
cool. I mean, you know me, I love Elliott Smith. I listen to
yeah.
that shit constantly. No, again, I'm not depressed. I just like Elliott Smith.
I need to check that shit out. Yeah, it's the first one that I have not heard.
His vocals are definitely either for you or not for you. I will say that. The
Well, I'm a
whisper
Bob Dylan
singing.
fan, so bad vocals can't scare
That's
me.
also fair.
I like Neil Young too. So do you. It's like bad vocals don't
Oh
bother me.
yeah. Ambulance Blues, bro.
All right, here we go. Everybody knows this was gonna make an appearance. King Crimson in the Court of the Crimson King. Some all time level album art there. It's so great,
Oh, he's
especially in like the late '60s. That was wild. That was just hilarious. And like the back with the it's so good. Anyway, there's a lot of prog on my list. I can't help it. That shit. I love it so much. King Crimson comes in a comfortable third. I like Rush and Pink Floyd, probably their overall catalog a little better, and I'm more familiar with it to be honest. King Crimson has 5 or 6 I still have yet to hear. But that is widely regarded as one of their best, if not their best albums. In the Court of the Crimson King is the one you'd know off of here. But it's almost like heavy rockin' into beautiful, sparse, ambient, melodic, back into heavy rock, into like storytelling songs. And it's like, this is everything that's great about progressive rock is embodied on this album. It covers a ton of stylistic ground. It's not afraid to explore ideas completely rather than just like, whoop, 3 minutes, 30 seconds, better end this off real quick and move to the next song. It's like everything that was great about progressive songwriting back when it was new, rather than like in the 90s when you had all these guys going back to 70s prog and trying to do it again. And by then it's not progressive. You're just rehashing. It's regressive. You're doing what they did. But at this time, it was progressive, and these guys are awesome. And I had to pick one from them. That was the easy pick, mainly because it's the only one of theirs I own on vinyl at the moment.
Fair.
But man, I love that song, and I love that album. It's great. There's like that slower part. It's not my favorite, but I appreciate how it juxtaposes between the heavier bits. And it, as an album, I think it works incredibly well to sort of tell a loose narrative in the way that it does.
This is a record I put down for 5 years and pick up again, and I always forget how much I really dig it. I'll have to. It's been almost 5 years, so I'll have to pick it up soon again.
You're 21st century schizoid man right out the gate, and you're just like, yeah.
Oh, exactly. It's a great opener. That's a ridiculous opener.
It's awesome.
It's a great record. It's a fun listen. And again, I always forget how fun of a listen it is, but that's something I need to go back to ASAP. My number 8 is the emoest record that Ema ever emoed before, the Black Parade. It's 2005 Incarnate. It is what, if you wanted to know what 2005 sounded like, you would listen to either In Da Club and 50 Cent to Get Rich or Die Trying, or you would listen to this.
I got it on CD. I don't have it back there.
You don't have it? All right, it's all right. I mean, it's got, Welcome to the Black Parade and Mama and Teenagers and Famous Last Words, which is a crazy hard song at the end. It's got Cancer, which is very slow piano ballad that people seem to hate, that I love. I love Cancer, not the thing, but I like the song. But yeah, no, this is a landmark record. This is definitely one of those, in 50 years we're gonna look back and be like, what's a great record from 2005 or like the mid 2000s? You go, this one. This is
great. I see. That's another one I didn't think about. I do really enjoy that record. All right, here's one. We both like it. I'd be surprised if it's on your list, but I know you at least appreciate its grandeur. That is Swans, To Be Kind.
Yeah.
Man, this is just an immense triple LP, and it's like, how do you even describe this album? It is
like Anthony Fantano did, a rock apocalypse.
It is cacophonous, immense, apocalyptic. Yeah, it's not bad. Heavy in a way that is almost indescribable and unique to this album. Just these long, dense, exploratory, and punishing sort of engrossing but punishing sort of songs. Totally unique, man. And it just, I remember the first time I heard this, man, I was like lying in bed and I was like, what is this Swans to be? Maybe it was you who mentioned it to me or something. And I was like, what is this? Let me just put this on the cans real quick. And I was laying there like, holy shit, like 30 minutes in, I was like, this is immense. It can't be loud enough. I can't get into this enough. It had to be on there, man. It is just an experience unto itself in a way that albums seldom are. But epitomizes all that they can be at their artistic height, I think. God, it's incredible. I love that record.
Oh, I agree. It's tough. It's a tough listen at times. It's long and it's intense and it is exhausting.
Don't throw it on your commute next time you're headed to work.
No, unless
you
your
gotta
commute is
spend
3
some
hours.
time with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. But that's a great record. It's a Fantano discovery. I see Anthony Fantano gave it a 10 and I'm like, okay, I'll listen to it. And then I was like, wow, this is a 10. It's cool. It's a tight record. I keep forgetting what my favorite song is on there. It's the 1, 2, 3, 4, 10. I can't think of it. It's gonna kill me.
It's like what, third in the track list? Yeah, let me see. I know what time.
This is gonna bug me, so we're gonna have to just pause, stop listening to his tracks and figure out what it is.
Screenshot?
No.
Little God in My Hands.
The Little God in My Hands. That's exactly what it is. I
Okay.
love that song. That song, I made so many radio rejoins of Little God in My Hands because it's groovy and then it divulges into something completely insane.
Yeah.
It's like watching somebody go insane but listening to it on a song.
And the production. So cool. Crisp.
The production's insane.
Immense. Yeah.
Rock apocalypse. So I also made a Bob Dylan entry. It is not his Christian record saved. I promise. It is
Not
also
Self-Portrait?
It's not Self-Portrait either. It's not even Infidels. It's Blood on the Tracks too.
Oh, okay.
I mean, it's a great breakup record. It's an amazing breakup record. It's a record about his divorce, for God's sakes.
There you go.
And in my opinion, maybe the last great great Bob Dylan record. I mean, he put out some good stuff afterwards, like Modern Times, but like that's the last like peak crazy great Bob Dylan record. I mean,
Hmm.
and I'm looking at the track listing right now, side one or side two. I mean, I don't know which one is better because you got Tangled Up in Blue, Simple Twist of Fate, Idiot Wind on one, and then You're Gonna Make Me Lonesome When You're Gone on there. And then on side two, you have Meet Me in the Morning, which is one of my favorite Bob Dylan tracks. And you have Shelter from the Storm and Buckets of Rain. I don't know which one is better. Both sides are ridiculous. Both
Billy
sides
Rosemary and the
are,
Jack of Hearts.
and that one too.
That's like my all-time favorite Dylan song. I love that song.
I mean, I'd say mine is Meet Me in the Morning is probably it would be probably being considering. I like that little groove riff intro to it. Um, yeah, no, this is I say bulletproof flop. This is bulletproof. I
It
mean,
is.
it's 10 songs and it's 10 amazing songs. Um, it's biographical in a lot of ways. I feel like, yeah, no, there was
Takes you
not
to a
another Bob
place,
Dylan
you know?
record in consideration. Like this
Yeah.
was it. This is the one.
Well, I'm glad. I know we have similar tastes when it comes to Bob Dylan. Probably towards this guy too. Had to be some Hendrix on there. Electric
Yeah.
Ladyland.
You don't have the original cover?
Sadly, not the original album cover. I actually think this is a better album cover than the original cover.
I disagree, but that's okay.
I think it is awesome. This is a super cool version of this as well. It's on 180 gram vinyl, and I'll tell you what, man, putting this on the turntable, it sounds just immense. When they go on those long, Steve Winwood is an underrated contribution to this on keys. Man, it's just immense sounding, and a lot of it's live as well. Two or three of them at least are live on there, and they are just the best recorded for back then. For what was it, 67, something like that. 66, 67. It's like, man, they just sound incredible. I know they've been remastered and all that stuff, but there's only so much you can do, and that sounds immense. What an awesome, innovative, incredible player, incredible performer, songwriter. Man, he is one of the highest rated guys who I will not say is probably overrated. Like, he is appropriately rated as like a god tier rock musician, just in terms of influence, let alone how good his stuff is. And there's only three of them. I know there's like 1,000 now of like compilations and deep cuts
Right.
and demos, but like 3 studio albums, and they are flawless, all 3 of them. That's the best of incredible albums in my opinion.
All right. So my number 6 is System of a Down, and it is Toxicity from 2001. It's probably the heaviest record I have on here in terms of, sound metal. It's because it's not, I don't want to call it new metal because that sounds like an insult. Calling
Yeah.
anything new metal sounds like an insult, but it's a heavy record. It's very politically charged. And I mean, you have songs like Chop Suey on here. You have Atwa, which stands for air, trees, water, and what is the last one? And animals.
Know
Which
that.
is it says it in parentheses. I always forget. I'm like it's air, something, water, and something else.
Yeah.
But you have Psycho and Toxicity and Aerials. I mean, God, this record, it's just there's a lot of like System of a Down stuff I go back to consistently, but this record as a whole, if you listen to it front to back, it's so cohesive, it's so good. I mean, there's sometimes I'll skip if I'm just listening to the whole catalog as one, I'll skip around some of the songs like I'd say Shimmy, Bounce, I skip. But in terms of the entire context of the album, they make total sense and they sound great. I mean, it's 14 songs, except for that weird part at the end. They call it a 15th song on here. That weird part at the end of Aerials that I don't like.
Yeah.
But it's 14 songs that just make so much sense together. And I don't know if they got better than this. There's a lot. They put out 5 great records, but this, I don't know if there's anything better.
Well, we'll see because that's coming up soon on the channel.
Yeah.
That was your pick. That'll probably go up shortly after this video. Hopefully, if we have time to knock that.
Hopefully.
All right, here we go. This one might put a few noses out of joint. I'm not saying it's their best record. I'm saying it's my favorite. It's 2 different questions. 90125 by Yes. Love Yes. I have Close to the Edge and Fragile and the Yes album and Topographic Oceans back there. I love them all. Not saying this is like the absolute peak artistically of their career. I'm saying this is my favorite. It's the one I listen to the most, especially lately. And here we go. I said it. We were talking earlier about how the album art shrunk from down to the CD. Well, here it's on cassette. Little tiny cassette right there. 90125 on cassette. Man, I just love this album. Owner of a Lonely Heart is the big radio single. Love that song. But everything else, man, Changes. It can happen to you. Man, it's incredible. There's like polyrhythmic stuff going on. The production is immense. The songwriting is still complex enough to keep you engaged with a sheen of just incredible 80s production. Better than most 80s production, I think, to my ear. It has aged a lot better than a lot of the other stuff that just sounds way too echoey and kind of corny. I think this stuff still sounds really cool, and it's utterly unique, man. Nothing sounds like this album with xylophones and all this crazy vocal effects and harmonies and shit. I love that record. I mean, I love a lot of Yes albums, and I'm not saying that's like the absolute best Yes. It's my favorite Yes, though. I'll be honest. Like that, call me what you will, Yes fans, but I love that album. I think it's incredible.
The Yes fan army is gonna come and kick your ass. Just
I
wait
know
and
they have a
see.
problem with me. Like I might put that at the top of my list, followed by Close to the Edge.
Yeah.
Followed by Fragile. I love all those too. I'm just saying, it's great. I love that album.
Yeah, you're a big Yes and prog rock fan. I mean, you're not being mean to Yes. You like Yes.
I
It's
like
okay.
it. You can call me a casual if you want, but whatever.
All right. My number 5 is The Stranger by Billy Joel. This
Shit, I had that one on
is
CD too. I should have brought it.
I love this record. It's great. You start off with Moving Out, which is maybe my favorite Billy Joel song. You start out with that. And then you also have Scenes from an Italian Restaurant, which my girlfriend called boring, which makes me
What?
really sad and makes me want to maybe dump her because why would you say that?
That's bullshit.
Scenes from an Italian Restaurant is an amazing song. I was very heated. I was extremely heated. I mean, listening about Render and Eddie, and they're still going steady in the summer of '75. I mean, I love that story. I feel bad that it ends poorly, but I have hope for those two crazy kids. Okay, 50 years later.
Yeah.
But you have that. You have Vienna. She's always a woman. Only the good die young. Everybody has a dream is an epic song when he brings in all the people. Yeah, everybody. It's Billy
What a
Joel,
track list.
so much fun to listen to, and this
Yeah.
is the peak of Billy Joel. This is peak fun Billy Joel to listen to, and also from Step Brothers, which I know you don't watch or you haven't seen, when he
I haven't
yells
seen it.
about '80s Billy Joel, and the guy goes, "Put on some Stranger," and it's like, what did I just fucking say? '70s Joel. '70s Joel is better than '80s Joel. I will admit that. Not even admit that. I will proclaim that.
No argument. Man, it's like a greatest hits compilation in and of itself with a
really
track
is.
list like that.
It's insane.
All right, here's another one I debated. He has two. I own them both, but I think I prefer actually Good Kid to Pimp a Butterfly. I've listened to them both quite a few times. This one I'm actually keeping sealed. Maybe it'll be worth something someday. It was the first initial release. Who knows? Man, that's a great album. Like the production where there's like a lot of acoustic instrumentation involved adds so much to a modern hip hop project when it's done right. Because the one thing that's fatiguing about a lot of modern hip hop is like the 808s and the same sound palettes being used over and over and over and over. And I'm just like, yeah, I get it. I mean, like, let's do something different. You know that Billy Woods album and Kenny Siegel, Hiding Places?
Yep.
That is the only one that does it as well as this. It still has plenty of production elements in there that are more traditional, last 20 years hip hop or whatever. But in addition to the incredible vocal performances, great lyricism and storytelling, it really just proves that I love the idea of a concept album more than any given genre, because that's a concept album, really. So's To Pimp a Butterfly, really. And it's delivered in an effective medium by an artist who's as different to those 70s prog guys that I love so much as anything could be. And it's still executed incredibly well. Kendrick is both underrated and overrated, I think. Like his lyricism is as good as anybody 80% of the time. And then 20% of the time, it's a bit crap. So this is the one where it's like, this one, I think, has more of the 80% than To Pimp a Butterfly, which, to be fair, has a few flyover tracks, especially up front. I just don't need it. I don't want you talking about your dick. You know, come on, stick to the concept, stick to the subject. But it is incredible, and I've been listening to that a lot lately. 5 years ago and 5 years from now, it might not be on my top 20 anymore, but lately I have been listening to his discography through again because I think I own them all except Damn now, and that's just immense creative force on that album, and he's great.
I mean, to make that and Butterfly, I mean, it's unfortunate, but everything else he's going to make after that is going to be not as good.
Yeah, I mean,
His latest record is fine. It's a good, it's a great record for most artists. It's just an okay or good Kendrick record.
Yeah.
Damn is crap, and it's a very good record for most artists.
Yeah.
That's how I feel about it. So that's the difficulty with success. That's what happens. It's the double-edged sword.
Yeah.
I'm going hip hop. I'm going with. Is this the only hip hop record I have on? No, I had two at the beginning. Ex-Military by Death Grips had to be on here. It was going to be on here. So an album.
Is it an album though?
We're counting it as an album. We're counting it. It doesn't matter.
At your insistence.
The only reason they don't count it as an album is because they're gonna get sued if they don't. Because they use like Pink Floyd and Black Flag and Charles Manson sampling.
Yeah.
Which I mean to open, I really think about this often. To open Who You Are, because they had an EP before this. But your first mixtape / album, whatever you want to call it, to open it with a Charles Manson sample of him rambling about nonsense is such a tone-setting, insane thing to do.
Yeah.
And I love it. I find that hilarious. I mean, because it's so weird. It's such a bizarre speech about nothing. And then you go right into Be Beware. And then you go into Guillotine, or Guillotine, as they like to say. And then Spread Eagle Across the Block. I mean, Tachyon's on here. Culture Shock's on here. Blood Creepin's on here. This is such an intense, nonstop, hit you in the face record. I would love to find it in a physical copy someday. I don't think that. I mean, they go for like $1,000.
I've never seen one.
There's so few. It's when nobody knew who they were, they just give them out at like their shows. So if you're at a show, they'd be like, "Here, take this," or they'd be like,
That's
"Here,
awesome.
you can buy it here." So there was very limited pressing of it. Also, the fact they would get sued, so they can't really make more. Yeah, no, it was my favorite Death Grips record when we made the list, and I love Death Grips. There's a lot of really awesome tracks, or a lot of really awesome records, including the Penis one, and also, the Money Store. There's so much I like about Death Grips, but this is the one I go back to constantly. Even if I can't go on Spotify. I have to keep going on stupid YouTube to listen to it. I'll keep doing it.
Check out our Death Grips Worst to Best for more information on that.
Yes.
Alrighty, another pretty bulky packaging here. This is Tool Lateralis. Specifically a repressing or some kind of re-release, because obviously that's not the original album cover. It's all filled with just this psychedelic eyeball type thing. I actually think the original album cover is incredible, maybe even a bit cooler than this is. But the cool thing about these is they have also imprinted on the actual vinyl.
That was cool.
The images, yeah. It actually makes the sound quality a bit worse, I'll be honest. But whatever. It's awesome. I love this record. These guys are up there with Dream Theater as people who are still innovating within a heavy music space in a way that few are. Tool is incredible. Short discography. Love to do them worst to best. That'd be a short video we could do as well. There's not too many of them, and I think they're all pretty good. I actually even like the new one more so than most people did. But Lateralis has to be at the top, man. It's just incredible song after song. There's not a bad one. There's not a less than great one. I just listen to that record all the time, and I think it's clearly their best. But I do like a lot of their other stuff as well. I wish they had done more. You know what? I was really disappointed though. Just on a random note, I listened to A Perfect Circle. That group. You ever heard of them?
I've heard of them.
It was like they only have like two. And I want to say that, who is it? Is it James Maynard Keynes that's the vocalist in that group? I want to say. Maybe I'm thinking of something else entirely. But anyway, somebody was like, oh, if you like that, you should listen to this because it's like related. Some personnel is shared between those two projects. And I was like, this is shit. It was so bad. Tool is the perfect storm of influence and songwriting and multi-phase songwriting. There's so many different parts in each of these songs. It would have been crazy to see these guys live. I don't even know how much they played live. I don't see a lot of footage of Tool playing live. I don't know what their concerts were like, but if it's anything like just play the record. Like it's so
Yeah,
incredible. Love Tool. Had to be something from Tool on there, and I picked the best one.
I feel that. My number three is Animals by Pink Floyd, a record we talked about at the very beginning, which
Oh
this
boy,
is
it's at the
probably
bottom of
going
the
to be
pile.
an hour-ish long video. It's going to be such a long song or video,
Here's
but
the shitty re-release.
I'll take the shitty re-release. Look at that. I mean, it's 5 songs. They're all great. Dogs is my favorite Pink Floyd song. You know, Pigs on the Wing, even if you consider it a throwaway track, it's not. They're great.
No, they're
You
great.
you have Sheep. I mean, it's such a great record and it's got a point to it. It's not over preachy like Roger Waters tends to get on things like The Final Cut. This is a very pointed record. It's a political record, but it sounds great too. You know, it is the perfect storm of all the Pink Floyd elements. It's all them all coming together. And yes, it is the connoisseur's pick, because we're not picking Dark Side of the Moon or Wish You Were Here or The Wall. Actually, Wish You Were Here is just a bunch of a connoisseur's pick, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But still, it's not any of those. And it's certainly better than Umaguma because I'm gonna make fun of Umaguma if I have the chance to. That record's terrible. Okay, Ben, you can go ahead.
Getting down to the wire here, man. I'll keep it short. I've talked about these guys, what, 3 or 4 times on the channel. Can't get enough of Sons of Kemet. This is their 2018 record, Your Queen is a Reptile. The elevator pitch is world-influenced experimental jazz. And it's done as well as anything. Plus, it's a concept album. Loose concept, given that there's jazz. There's some vocalizations on there by Hutchings, who's an incredible saxophone player and sort of de facto band leader. But it's nothing is like it. It captures your attention in a way that contemporary jazz seldom does, for me at least. These spiraling polyrhythmic horn and percussion. There's like 2 percussionists, 2 drummers, a tuba, and a saxophone, and yet they have these compositions that sound utterly unique and develop in such engaging and dynamic ways. It's just an incredible contemporary jazz project. If somebody's like, "Yeah, I don't really ever get jazz. It's kind of boring to me," I'm like, "Well, I get it. I disagree, but I get it. But throw on this thing and tell me again that you think jazz is not interesting in the same way that rock can or hip hop can or something else. This thing is just as engaging in its structure and development of these tunes as anything. It's incredible. Love these guys, and their new one's great too. Black to the Future.
That's that's an amazing name for a record.
Yeah.
I love that. That's hilarious, and I'm here for it. Um, my number two is This It by The Strokes. It is what I'm like. The way it sounds is what I imagine New York looks like. I've never been there. And it's the most New York record there really is, and it came out like 2 months before 9/11. And in my opinion, it's maybe the best song of the 2000s. I mean, is This It? And is it an amazing opener? The Modern Age is maybe my favorite song by The Strokes.
Yeah.
New York City Cops and Try Your Luck are both great tracks in the tail end of things. Really, the only songs I don't like are Last Night and Someday, which are like the 2 biggest singles from this thing. Like,
How often is that the case?
it's weird how the most mainstream tracks on here are the ones I like by far the least. I've never liked Someday. I've always hated that song. And when I was like, that was the single, I was like, that's the single. That's the worst track on this record. And it's so quick. It's like barely 30 minutes. It's one I always go back to constantly. Every time I always forget, oh, I forgot about the Strokes. Then I listen to this, I go, oh yeah, no, I love the Strokes. I love this record. And I don't know if how you're gonna edit it by putting it like the album cover up. I'm intrigued to see if you have the stones to put up the original album cover and possibly get taken down because it's like, you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I think so. They're infamous for
Or
that.
I love that one. That's so much more rock and roll than the other one. That they say they prefer the second one better. I disagree. The one with the glove and the ass is the better cover. And it's the only one I have. It's the only one I would accept because it's so rock and roll. It's so cool.
You thought that about the Hendrix album as well. You just like naked girls on album covers.
The Hendrix one's more of a joke. The Strokes one is like a serious take. Is like that's a lot more rock and roll. That makes this album, like, it makes more sense with this album than the second one. The Hendrix thing is much more joke based.
Maybe maybe you would prefer the original Scorpions album cover of do you know what I'm talking about?
Mm.
Okay, never mind. It's
I was hoping you were gonna say the Beatles album cover. You know, the one with like the dead babies.
uh
Do you know
no.
about that?
No.
You'll have to look into that. I can't remember
Okay.
which one it is, but like it was like them in like either doctor or butcher coats, and then they're just like a bunch of baby dolls, headless and blood everywhere.
The Beatles?
The Beatles. You're gonna have to
Okay.
look into
Wow.
this.
Shit. I didn't know about that.
It's ridiculous.
All right. By no means my favorite of the ones. Like I say, mine are in no particular order. But we're on to my last pick here. A guy I love, an Australian instrumental guitarist. Not dissimilar to like a Steve Vai or a Satriani. I'm talking about Plini. This is Handmade Cities, his debut studio album from 2016. He has another one that I've got as well. These were actually super hard to track down because he's not signed to like a huge label or anything, and these were only local to Australia, so I had to import both of them from Australia, which was not cheap. Fly them across the
Can't
Pacific
imagine.
just to have them. But man, he's awesome. An incredible player. But there's lots of incredible players. What this guy has that's unusual for somebody who's also a technical, incredible player is an unbelievable ear for melody and development on these instrumental songs. They feel as engaging as a vocal performance in a lot of ways. In the terms of the way it moves things, it moves things along. I use the word narrative. I don't even know if that makes sense to people the way I'm using that, but it moves things along developmentally in a song in incredible ways. Plus, the drumming is incredible. The bass playing is incredible. Like, I think it was Simon Grove on this one. He may use a different drummer on the second one, but like this dude I need to hear more from him. The drumming on these incredibly complex, rhythmically complex instrumental tracks is just awesome. And the production for a not huge budget release is the best I've ever heard on guitar rock based stuff. It is awesome. It is immense. It is crystal clear. Sometimes there's 30 layers going on in a track and it still just sounds perfect. The mixing is perfect. Plini is a guy that I am desperate for more releases from because he has this one and he has one from 2020 back there, and that's it so far. 2 albums, and I'm like, dude, if he had 50, I'd still import them all. It's that good. He's working now with a little more jazz stuff, and some electronic influences are coming in on the 2020 release. I'm talking about, not this one, but it is just an immensely talented, melodically interesting, technically skilled instrumental guitar rock performance on both of these albums. Super unique as well. Like, who's doing that well anymore? I love Satriani, but I think this guy is way better of a songwriter. I don't even know if I can use that term, given that there's no vocals, but a better songwriter than Satriani was or is. And I'm hoping he comes out with something again soon, man. So I'll pay whatever it takes to get it over here from the outback across the ocean.
Oh, I feel that. There's no way that was cheap. Oh my god. But hey, if you like it, you like it. I'm gonna go across the smaller pond here, the Atlantic, for my final pick. It was always gonna be number one. It was
It's
number
the
not
better
gonna be
ocean,
number
pound
one.
for pound.
Pound for pound. You can't weigh the ocean, Joe. What are you talking about? I mean, look, when I started this, I wrote 1 through 20, and then I started OK Computer. OK Computer was number one. That was the easiest one to rank. It is my favorite album. It's my favorite album for 10 years. It is the best. It's about consumerism. It's about society becoming more, intertwined with technology, things that are obviously oddly Orwellian and make even more sense now than they ever have. I mean, Paranoid Android is an amazing 3-part Bohemian Rhapsody-esque track. You have Karma Police, which is obviously the pop track with a great music video of a guy being chased and then burning a car. Climbing Up the Walls is creepy serial killer shit. No Surprises and Lucky are both heavily sad tracks at the end of it. I mean, there's Exit Music for a Film is a song about Romeo and Juliet made for the weird, odd Romeo and Juliet movie from the mid-90s. The OK Computer, there's not enough amazing things to say about this record. I mean, this record's the best. It is If we do this in 5 years, it'll probably still be number one. I'd be shocked if it wasn't. Like, I don't know if there's something that can top it.
Radiohead damn near made my list. I don't actually own OK Computer. I do have In Rainbows and Hail to the Thief and a few others back there, but I would that's one that's it's that I would totally reorder my list if we were to shoot the video Radiohead worst to best. Like I would totally change it. That's the one where the more time you spend, the more you gravitate towards different aspects of their sound. Incredible, incredible band. Just the creativity in the stuff they do is awesome, man. Whew, that was a long video, dude. That was like that might be the new longest video on the channel. That's the problem.
Has to
Start
be.
talking about shit you like, you know.
Until we do Bob Dylan worst to best, it's coming. It'll come eventually. We'll do it.
We'll sit down one afternoon, smoke those like foot long cigars I got to buy for us, and
Yeah, and just sit there and
like
do
30 records.
lay it down. And
All right,
then
dude,
just-
that was a lot of
people just
fun.
quit. Yeah.
Appreciate you joining me, man. We'll get together here soon again for System of a Down is coming up. We'll probably do some more overrated, underrated, quick videos coming up here whenever we have time as well. But for now, appreciate everybody watching. Mike, thanks for joining me, and we'll catch you next time.